Now we continue with the cerebellum. The cerebellum is the small part of the brain. It is present behind. Okay. So this cerebellum, it is present below the cerebrum and above the medulla oblongata, as you can see in the diagram. The reddish color patch what is shown, that is the small part of the brain, that is the cerebellum. It is behind the pons. So remember the locations also. Below the cerebrum, above the medulla and behind the pons. Pons is that bulge structure in the front. Now this also has two lobes, as you can see in this diagram. Those are called as the cerebellar hemispheres. Its surface is marked by a large number of transverse fissures. That is, it does not have the convolutions, but it has a branching tree-like structure. Looks like the branches of the tree, and it gives it a laminated appearance. Here you can see those. It has no convolutions, but it has numerous furrows which look like tree-like structure, and it has the same thing, that is the grey matter as well as the white matter. So the cerebellum is also called as the little brain. This diagram also helps you to understand how the cerebellum is located as well as how it looks. And what is the function of the cerebellum? It helps us to maintain the balance or equilibrium during movement. When you're walking, when you're running, or you can see in the picture walking on a grill, or standing on one feet and trying to wear your shoes. So all that activity is controlled, the muscular activity is controlled and coordinated by the cerebellum. Then the medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata, it is about 2.5 centimeters long, and it extends from the pons to the spinal cord. In that black second diagram, what you can see, the orange color highlighted patch, what is shown, that is the medulla oblongata. It is approximately triangular in shape, and this is also hollow from inside. So that is how the medulla oblongata is located. Even the first diagram shows you the location of the medulla oblongata. And what it does the work of controlling the involuntary activities of the internal organs. Here in this diagram also you can see the medulla oblongata clearly marked for you. And the second diagram, the green one highlighted, is the medulla oblongata. The lower yellow color rod or the cord-like structure is the spinal cord. So it does the work of controlling involuntary activities. Involuntary activities like beating of the heart, respiration, then sneezing, peristaltic movement of the food, that is passing of the food from the esophagus or through any part of the alimentary canal, then swallowing, coughing, having hiccups. These are all controlled by the medulla oblongata. Here also you can see some more functions. So injury to this medulla oblongata, it can result in the death. The lower diagram, what you can see, the pink color patch, that is the medulla oblongata. Then coming to the different regions of the brain. Those were the basic parts of the brain. Now the regions of the brain are forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. So till now you are familiar with what are the parts of the brain. So that only in detail will help you to understand these main parts, that is forebrain, midbrain and the hindbrain. As you can see in the diagram, the larger section what is shown in the yellow color is the forebrain. Mainly is the cerebrum. Then you have the midbrain, a small piece in the center, as good as just a junction or the relay station. And the hindbrain is the blue color patch. Now let us see what they are. The forebrain, it is made up of cerebrum, the thalamus and the hypothalamus. Okay. So the forebrain is made up of cerebrum, thalamus and the hypothalamus. Then you have the midbrain. The midbrain is just a small little patch. Then the hindbrain. The hindbrain is made up of the pons, the medulla oblongata and the cerebellum. So it has three parts there again. So let us see the first one, the cerebrum. We have already discussed about the cerebrum, the largest part which is made up of 4/5 of its weight, that is complete weight of the brain, seat of intelligence, memory, emotions, all this we discussed. So that is the cerebrum. The cerebrum, the second part of the forebrain, is the diencephalon. As you can see in the diagram, the part what is shown is a diencephalon. It is located just below the cerebrum. It is a small rhomboidal lobe. It is completely covered superiorly by the cerebrum, but it is visible from the inferior surface as a small area. It lies between the cerebrum and the midbrain. It is distinguished by two parts, and those two parts are the thalamus and the hypothalamus. In this diagram, you can very clearly see the second part of the forebrain. The red color patch in the center is the thalamus, and the small green color patch is the hypothalamus. And what is the function of these? The hypothalamus, it controls our body temperature. Then it also controls the pituitary gland and the blood pressure. The pituitary gland hangs out from the hypothalamus by means of a small stalk. Whereas the thalamus, it acts as a relay center for pain, for pressure impulses which are to be carried on from the spinal cord to the brain. So the thalamus, where is it located? Between the cerebral cortex and the midbrain. The diagram very clearly shows you the blue color part is the thalamus and the green color is the hypothalamus. Then what is the function of the hypothalamus? We already discussed. Then coming to the midbrain. The midbrain of the human is significantly very small and a thick stalk. The green color patch what you can see in the diagram. It is only about 2 centimeters long, and it connects the forebrain with the cerebellum and the pons of the hindbrain. So basically it is the connecting link between the forebrain and the hindbrain. And what it does? It controls the sight and the auditory impulses. The sight is vision and auditory impulses are hearing. Then the hindbrain, it consists of three main parts: the pons, varoli, then cerebellum and medulla oblongata. In the diagram you can see the pons shown, cerebellum as well as the medulla oblongata. Now you have already discussed about cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Let us see what is the pons. So cerebellum we already discussed that it coordinates all the muscular activities. You can see some of the activities which are shown there in the picture. That is playing a musical instrument, controlling the movement of your fingers, playing games, football, muscles of your legs, and then eating, coordinating your fingers to hold the food and put it into your mouth. Then the pons. It is located centrally below the cerebellum. What is its function? It carries impulses from the medulla oblongata to the forebrain, and it also carries impulses from one hemisphere of the cerebellum to another, and it helps to coordinate the muscular movements on both the sides. That is, when it carries on the information. Now as we already discussed that the right part of the brain controls the left part of the body and the left hemisphere controls the right part of the body. So when both your hands have to work in coordination in the same time and the same direction, so this coordination is possible only when messages go at the right time, and that messages are passed on from the pons. Medulla oblongata, it is the posterior most part of the brain, and it extends from pons to the spinal cord, and mainly it takes care of all the involuntary activities. There's one more important term here, that is the brainstem, and this brainstem, it includes the midbrain, the pons and the medulla oblongata. Okay, so that region which consists of these three parts, that is the midbrain, then the pons and the medulla oblongata, that region is termed as the brainstem. Yes, we stop here children. So please go through the textbook and find out if you have doubts.